Greetings everyone, I'm Kate Allen here. I want to welcome you back to my series on the creative process through the lens of the Tarot Suit of Cups. Knowing that 2023 was coming rapidly to an end, and knowing that I still had numerous cards to cover in the Suit of Cups before the year's end, I decided to draw 4 cards. And I decided to draw them in honor of each of the 4 directions. So I started with East, went to South, went to West, and ended with North. The deck I chose for this month for the 4 card draws was the Prisma Visions deck by James R. Eads. This is a sister deck to the one I used last month, which was the Cosma Visions deck. We begin with the East. East is the direction of air. It's also the direction of reason and logic. And for East, I drew the 10 of Chalices. In this deck, the 10 of Chalices is represented by a pair of children who are sitting in a tree looking at one another. There are 10 containers dangling from tree limbs. It appears to be sunset in the card. And there's this lovely sense of balance, liminality, and connection. And I'm delighted that this is the card that I ended up drawing for the East, because so often reason and logic can be at odds with a sense of loving kindness. And so in this case, it isn't. In fact, what this card implies to me in terms of creative process is that where my creative process meets my joy is where I belong. It's where I begin. In other words, whatever I do creatively, if I find joy there, that is a sign that that is what I ought to be doing creatively, rather than spending my time on projects that are interesting to others or that others think I ought to be doing. It's not about what others think I ought to be doing, it's about what brings me joy. This connects really well with the next card, which is the card of the South. South is the direction of fire, which is also connected with passion and creativity. The card that I drew for South is the 8 of Chalices, and in this deck, the 8 of Chalices is represented by an elderly person who's facing away. They're on a journey, and they're holding a cane that consists of 8 chalices. And they're looking up into this open, fiery, vibrant sky. And what I take from this card is a sense of possibility through a journey. And what this says to me about creative process is that the possibility of doing anything creatively exists and becomes manifest when I make a move forward, when I take a step, however small. The size of the step isn't what matters. That I take the step at all is what matters. The other thing that comes to mind for me is that it's not just about moving anywhere, it's moving toward what lights a spark in me. This feels like a great segue to the next card, which is the West. West is the direction of emotion and relationship, and it's the direction of water, which is what the whole Suit of Cups belongs to. In this deck, the 4 of Chalices is represented by a boy sitting with his back against a tree trunk. He's sitting on a slight incline amid tall grasses. There's some leaves on the ground. There's also leaves swirling around him in the sky above from the tree he's sitting under. And he's next to a body of water. Next to him are 2 cups standing upright, and then there are 2 cups spilled at his feet. And the boy looks unhappy. I find it very interesting that this card came up for the West, because very often, especially for me, I don't know about you, the state of my relationships can make or break my day. If I feel at ease in my connections, then it's easy to create and to do things that I love. But if I feel strife or dissatisfaction in a connection, it can put a stop to everything I'm doing. So it's interesting here because what I see in this card is that the boy has joy available to him in the Two Cups and in this rather delightful setting, but he's so unhappy because two of his cups are spilled. And what this implies to me is that he is taking for granted what he has in order to ruminate on what isn't to his liking in the moment. He's ruminating on the past or perhaps worrying about the future and ignoring the present moment, which is a beautiful moment. So what this suggests to me is that indulging in the delight of the present, the now, is a key to happiness. And indulging in rumination or worry is a key to unhappiness. And the choice is always mine. The thought that comes to mind for me is that the time to create is always now. And when I create, I not only create a thing, but I create my own joy. Finally, we move to the north, which is the direction of earth. It's also known as the direction of material security or comfort, wealth. It can be the direction of home or family. And the card I drew for this direction, the north, was the Ace of Chalices. The Ace of Chalices in this deck is represented by a fountain that sits in a body of water. It actually draws the water that it spouts from the body it sits in. And what I see in this card is an invitation, because remember, chalices are containers that hold emotion. So with a fountain, we have an invitation to let the deepest, truest feelings within us to rise up and to spill out, to see what's there. Feelings very often are guideposts. They tell us what is true about our experience. And they can tell us what maybe needs changing in our lives in order to find the joy that we seek. So if I experience anger over something, that anger is telling me, hey, pay attention to this, because it's telling you that something isn't right, and that you want something different. And I'm going to bother you, I'm going to nudge you until you pay attention and change something. So very often in American culture anyway, there's this emphasis on stuffing feelings or pretending like they're not there, or pretending like we're bigger than they are, or acting like they're irrelevant. And I reject all of that. Feelings are very, very important in terms of telling us what we value so that we can pursue whatever it is that we value. So this feels like a very hopeful sort of card for me. It's a card that says, I can trust my intuition. I can trust what my feelings convey to me about what I want in life. And I can respond to those feelings without becoming overwhelmed by them, hopefully, but I can respond to those feelings by treating them as information that will help me move in the direction of my joy, whatever that joy is. This card also says to me that I have a right to name the life I want out loud. I get to claim that because I am the only one who gets to live this life. And choosing this life, choosing to live it fully, is also my choice. I can live a half-hearted life, or I can live a wholehearted one, and it's up to me. My circumstances may not be something that I can choose, but I can respond and I can take steps that no one else can take for me. It's my journey. This card invites the ongoing question, what do I want? I invite you to take 5 or 10 minutes and reflect on how these cards speak to your journey. What do you want? What do you want? What I want in the moment is to thank my Patreon patrons, the sticky ones, for supporting me in this series and so much else. Thank you. The final installment of this series will be posted next month. So I invite you to keep an eye out for that, and you can hit subscribe if you don't want to have to try to remember. I hope you have a marvelous day, and I will see you next time.